Hey everyone, I believe we're live. Should be anyway. Yeah, there we go. Okay. As we're live, rocking and rolling, if you will, in good ways. Yeah, so this tonight is titled Metaphysics and connected to the Ascension. I'm connected to you and all of those goodies that go along with it. Um, As I began, one of the current divine themes that has come up and come to my awareness is, how little that I'm seeing out there of ones actually teaching more in depth about the metaphysics and about the energy and how you're connected to that and with matter, if you will, both material and energetically. And of course, it's all connected together, and it plays a very pertinent, utmost role in this ascension. So, having said this, where shall we begin? I usually, as most that knows me, I don't usually write a script, if you will. It flows and it comes. So that's the way we'll do this one. And so I got a great outdoors place, having an organic tobacco cigarette, of course. And of course, your physical vessel and taking care of that is also important. So, let's see where I shall start this. Well, let's get right into metaphysics and let's look at that a bit. Essentially and basically, everything is energy. Even what you would consider inanimate objects, like perhaps, this cup or even the cigarette that I'm holding, everything is bonded together by a certain force, which is an energetic force. It's what holds everything together. And that energetic force, if you will, any of you that know about CERN and a bit about science, well, the scientists were looking for that particle or that force that held everything together. And, they called it the God particle, if you will. But the real truth of the matter is that the God particle cannot be separated nor identified because it doesn't work that way. It is energy in motion that cannot be deciphered nor, let's say, diminished in any way, and it cannot be separated, to keep it simple, but it's very important. How's this feed going, everyone? Hi, Andrea Roy. How is the feed going? On this end, it looks like it might be a little bit glitchy, so can someone give me an update with that? Would be great. Thank you. Nevertheless, I'll continue speaking about this important subject. So again, everything is energy, and what that means. Thank you, Nicole. Everything seems great. Okay, thank you. So everything is energy, including you and I. And, with you and I, with every immaterial thing, every material thing, the entire universe, if you will, it's all made, again, of that one spark that holds everything together. Yeah, I see the video is glitchy. That's what I was wondering, but at least the sound is good, and that's what's important. So we are where we have that one spark, if you will, of all creation that holds everything together, including us. It becomes at this time during the Ascension so important to understand a bit more of how that works, to understand why it's important to know how it works, how it directly affects you, how it directly affects your reality, how it directly affects the planet and all other souls as a whole. Okay, great. Yeah. So, any comments or questions, if you will? I'd like to leave those to last because when I'm, Rick, when I'm rolling and rambling, I don't like to get distracted by comments, and I'll get to those when I'm done. So, let's get back to this again. So, you know, with the energy, also with metaphysics, in the energy, what occurs is during the ascension, one becomes more sensitive at feeling the energy, and this is the empathic ability. But it doesn't stop with just being able to feel energies. It keeps increasing and keeps getting more and more sensitive. And as you go along, you begin to learn the reasons why. You begin to read more of the energy, the imprint, the intent behind it, and what have you. So, having said this, it's important for each one to know how you affect energy as well. And for the most part, I'd like to go back to the spark that holds everything together. And that spark also comes from you with your intention, which is creation. It's how you put things in motion and how you contribute to reality. So it's important to learn more about your intention and your actions that you are putting out into your reality, because again, everything is energy. And you do, each individual has the choice on how you wish to effect your energetic environment of your energetic field and also your reality. And this is where it becomes very important to know more about energy and about vibration and frequency. So essentially, ones are, for the most part, fully aware of vibration and, let's say, higher vibration, happiness, and also lower vibration, sadness, if we use those two acts of emotions, which are energetic acts. So when you are in a sad state, what you are actually doing is you're energizing your environment with that same negative density. And I call density anything that's negative, for all intents and purposes in this um, this educational video tonight, if you will. So when you're in a saddened state, what you do is you affect your reality as well. For example, everyone knows this in its simplicity. If you're sad, you usually make others sad around you. And really, when you look in your heart, when anyone does that into your soul, no one wants to be sad. So this is where it means you have a choice to understand your energy, to understand how it's affecting your reality, how it's affecting your experience, but also not only how it's affecting you, how it's affecting others as well that may be in your reality, in your experience. So where sadness can make others feel sad and lower the vibration because you affect the vibration that's out here, because remember, you are part made of the same as what out here is made of, as what's in you. So you have a direct connection to that. And there is the energetic interaction always between you, your feelings, your emotions, and your intentions upon the space around you. Because again, you are compatible directly with the space. If you were not compatible with the space, you would not even be in it. You'd be in another place where you are compatible with it. So you have a direct impact upon reality and upon energy. Now, with negative, dense energy, it usually attracts the same. And likewise, joy, happy energy attracts joy and happiness. Because with metaphysics and what we are and what all creation is, it attracts whatever the intent is, the energetic intent, whatever the focus of the energy is. If it's positive, it will attract positive. If it's negative, it will attract negative. Now, this is a general rule of thumb that is a constant truth only for a certain level. Then once you raise up higher with more knowledge, you begin to understand that the relationship between positive and negative, that it slightly changes. And it changes, and you begin to find out that then you have more control as a co-creator in your ability to manifest, and you have more control over the choices of what you have in your proximal reality, in your close reality. And having said that, ones have mastered in their own reality, for the most part, good things. If they're by themselves all the time and in nature, if you will, everything is beautiful and positive. But what occurs, because you're not the only one, when you come into contact with others that are co-creators as well, what you begin to have is a disharmony, a disbalance, depending upon the one, how much they are the same as you are on a consciousness and an energetic level. So you will have more compatibility, if you will, with the twin flame scenario in the most harmonious relationships with that as an extreme. And also the reverse of that, is true. If you're coming in, if you're a high vibrational person, soul, have done most of your inner work, and you can come in contact with a negative one that, it'll make your energy all wonky, and you won't really wish to be around them. You will feel uncomfortable, and the reason why you will feel uncomfortable is because you have negativity. This camera's the opposite way. Because you have negativity meeting positive, and then there's like a kerfluffle that's caused. And it's this kerfluffle which can cause the discomfort in your field, disharmony in your field, that then you need to consciously expend energy to reharmonize your field from the negativity. So, having said that, in this great time of manifesting, you know that you have the choice to be happy, to keep your vibration high, and that is when you're the most powerful at creating the good things and even the magic. But also by keeping your vibration high, you enter higher timelines or higher dimensional spaces where your reality changes more favorably for you to match your resonance of where you're at, your frequency. And again, getting back to the individual, what you could see, you're able to obtain, let's say, happiness and joy for yourself, and you can mostly stay in a relatively higher vibration. However, you are still on the planet interacting with many other souls that are at many different levels of frequency and vibration. And what this does, it makes it, let's say, a little bit uncomfortable for you, because we have ones that are lower vibration and you're higher vibration. But when you go to manifest and create, in reality, if it includes the lower vibrational ones, then things will not become as favorable as you wish for them to be, because a lot of your co-creator energy will be focused on eradicating this disharmony first. And for the most part, where we are at upon the planet, that's a very challenging and tedious job for anyone to do yet. Now, the reasoning why it is still like that is because we have a planetary ascension that is ongoing, and many have to do what we call their inner work, their purity. It has to be done yet, so they raise their vibration. So until that's done, what we are actually contending with is a lot of disharmonic energy, fear, negative energy yet. And where we are also contending with that, and the reason we need to contend with it and interact with it, is because we are no longer human. Any that have your Kundalini, especially your Merkaba, activated, and it's a strong empath, you're no longer human. You're above the human perception, if you will, and things are different for you and for us. And the reason why we are still here in this earthly environment, where you can have your beautiful heaven on earth days, but then you're still part of that outside world. The reason that is because we are here for a very important divine task. So everyone's been in a divine boot camp of progression into their power is what's going on. And essentially there are the basics to get into your divine power, to do more of your mission, what you came here to do. And the keys with that, of course, is unconditional love. Get that going to the highest, but you also need the purity, you need the virtues, and you need to also you need to embody that you're always acting out of the highest, utmost virtuous way. And with that, because everything is energy, when you purify your state of being, all of your actions and your reactions to a certain degree, then you are not depositing fear, negative energy out into your reality, which is distorting things as well. So this is why you will hear that it all begins within. This is where the change begins at, of your world, of your environment, of your reality. So, yes, first, it's an inside job. But as I know some of you, at least on here, can attest to, once you get the inside job done, you're here. But there's more to do. Then it becomes the outside job. So by doing the inside job first, preparing yourself, and I also like to call this service to self, and I'm adopting that. I believe it's Lisa Brown, that uses this analogy. So your inner work is uh, service to self, because you need to be at that point. And once you get to the level of mastering most of your purity, you get to the service to self completed, you reach, let's say, uh, a very neutral, balanced, harmonious state with you. But then at that time, you find that your outside reality hasn't changed to reflect what you are inside. And at this point, it's when one realizes that there is more. They've done all of the inner work, and what they were taught in kindergarten, if you will, of the metaphysics and spiritual school, that all they had to do was everything within, then it'd be reflected and changed in the outside world. Well, let's say part of that at least is true, because you need to do it in the inside work first to begin to more affect and change the outside world to be a reflection of you. But to do that, then your mission comes into play, your reason why you're here and your purpose, which is to also assist others. You have brothers and sisters, divine comrades that are here that are at all different lower levels, and you, as being a peer, you assist with them. So then it becomes service to others, because the real truth is that there is a huge ground crew of us divine ones here to at least take our other brothers and sisters' souls to the first level of a fifth dimensional state of being. And that fifth dimensional state is all energy again, but it's a purified energy that is enough that it will not allow any nefarious intent, or let's even say evil, cannot exist in there, because you have this purified state of energy that it's positive, that negative cannot enter it. To keep it simple, it will be repelled. So the stronger this positive heightened vibration, and of course joy is, nothing negative nor nefarious can come into that space. And simple physics alone will tell you this, that there will be that repellent. It will repel. It cannot come in and be a part, because it's not the same as positive. So the negative is negative. It is negative charged. And this is what, let's say, evil is as well. Now, evil is very real. There is nefarious beings, but we don't even need to focus on that, because we are the positive beings, and positivity is what takes you through the higher dimensions. Remember virtue? You had to get virtue to inactivate your multi-dimensional abilities, your Merkaba and your Kundalini, for it to be activated enough to ascend the energies, to go higher and higher. And so we don't need to put our focus on, let's say, any nefarious or evil things in this fourth dimensional space, because to get to the fifth dimensional space, one has to be at least purified to the utmost moral degree, and again, their unconditional love, at least there, to be able to reside in here. And again, anything nefarious in the fourth dimension, they cannot change. They do not have the spark of God, what we have, and it's that simple. But again, we don't need to put our focus on them. We put the focus on us altogether, and the co-creator ability to create this new fifth dimensional frequency world for all, where the darkness cannot go. So this is simply how the battle, if you will, the spiritual battle is won on the planet. We already won the spiritual battle, if you will. It was played out, if you will, in the ethers. And what we are doing, we are actually back here, many of us from the future, playing the roles to get it physically manifested and secured as a material timeline, and to also increase the human playground experience into the next level, the fifth dimensional level, where no one needs to contend with misery, density, agony, sickness, and of course fear. So this is what we're doing. Now, one of the reasons that I needed to speak about this again tonight is because, there's so many powerful healers and teachers out there that is doing a lot of amazing work. But with what we're putting out, let's say with GPMS.world, which is the divine plan, it is the rapture, the ascension vehicle, if you will, Noah's Ark that everyone gets on. You can use any metaphor or any example you wish, but it is what it is. And having said this, what it does as the ascension vehicle, GPMS.world, it gives everyone more than a hope. It gives them the simplicity of it is possible, and it can be done very quickly, but also it raises the joy level. It raises the energetic level upon the planet to positive. So the more that choose it, they don't even need to be awake. They just need to know they want it. And within every soul, if you will, whether they're awake or not, every soul wants peace, love, and harmony, and no stress upon the planet, all of the souls. So this means with this that once they know they have a choice, they don't even need to be awake, the masses. Once they know they have a choice for this great joy, the hope actually begins to uplift them. So then the stress level upon the planet is then released and constantly diminished. So the more that choose the GPMS, this huge energetics of joy and hope and knowing, because knowing then becomes embodied and instilled once they are with it long enough. This is the dominant energy. It is the positive energy. So how this ties in also with the metaphysics, but also the conscious thought. So we spoke about earlier how everything is energy. Your intention, your feelings is energy. It affects reality. But not only that, importantly, your consciousness is energy. It is thoughts. It adds to creation. So I would like to say the way you create is by your feeling and your thoughts. Your consciousness combines, projects out into your reality and energizes your creation to the extent of what you are, how purified you are, and with purity your consciousness uplifts, it awakens as well. So the two go hand in hand with that. And then you begin to effect the outside reality at a disciplined, responsible, and positive way. And I say disciplined way because part of you doing your inner work was to integrate the discipline and the responsibility for the power that you were about to arrive into. And this is your co-creational power, what I'm speaking of. So you need it to be purified to be able to contribute to the overall power of creation of this reality. Everything is divinely designed that we're creating positive. We only do good. And that is the world we are creating. That's why the virtue is important. And no one, if you will, that is not virtuous, they cannot go in it. So they could be, let's say, non-virtuous now, but if they're a human soul that are going forward into this fifth dimension, they are subjugated with all of the experiences and tests, just like you, to get them done so that they are purified and in virtue so that they can go, if you will, into the next dimension, the heaven on earth scenario, is what we are here creating. So this is why you need to be disciplined and responsible. Get rid of the hatred, negativity, because as a co-creator, you don't want to be regurgitating that negativity, that vile, that fear out in reality, because we're creating a reality where it doesn't exist. So it becomes common sense, that with this huge co-creator responsibility that you would need to be purified. If not, given the immense power, and it doesn't work that way, but if you were given immense power and you still had fear in you, you'd be creating a complete fear paradigm, which is contradictory to what we come here to do. So, with your energetic fields, what you eat, what you drink, what you smoke becomes very important as well. And it depends upon the individual, because you do have a variance. It does vary where one's at in their process, and also how much they can tolerate. You can have, let's say, advanced one with the crystalline process, the metaphysical multidimensional process. Ones that are more advanced will tend to have a more tolerance towards some things than others. But it's all the process as well of getting there. But nevertheless, and I will speak for myself with my physical vessel here, it is still important for even though I'm an ascended master, I'm here in an organic vessel, to take this organic vessel up into the higher dimensions. And part of doing that is taking care of this vessel, being conscientious and meticulous with what I eat and what I drink and what I smoke. So this is organic cigarette tobacco, which is in alignment with what I'm doing. And if I was to smoke, I do it occasionally when I could not divinely find organic cigarettes. I would get a pack or two of what we call the chemical cigarettes, and whoa, it'll drop the vibration quick. And I don't suggest anyone that's smoking, because smoking is also beneficial when it takes out, it's good as a tool as you go along, when it assists with keeping you in a more heightened state, a more pacified state, and in a less stressful state. And the thing is, I'm still smoking, but what I can guarantee you, when it's go time to the fifth dimension, there's no smoking or any of that. But we're still in the course of getting there. We're very close. So getting back to your conscious thought. So you are adding and you are contributing to reality, as I said, through your energetic feelings and emotions, and also the conscious thought. Now, with the conscious thought, if you will, let's look at it this way. Let's say um, your manifestation, where it begins in your creation in reality, it begins in the heart. So it's energized in the soul area. And what it does, it is the active energy that within you then comes up into your consciousness, where your thoughts add to that energy some instructions and commands at what you will see or experience in your reality. So again, this is why it's so important that the consciousness is kept at all times as positive as possible, especially when you know that you're manifesting and that yes, you are having a great effect on your reality. For if you get negative thoughts, what you will see occur is that you'll start attracting some negative things that you thought of. So part of the mastery and creating a better environment for you and all, yes, remain positive, remain in trust, remain in faith. And it can get shaky at times, indeed, because it's all, everything we're doing here, you're being divinely trained in a physical vessel. And what you're doing is actually retrieving what you already are and what you know from your soul. So you're, through your process, the more you purify, the more knowledge you retrieve, and also more of your divine being, if you will, comes down into you. So it's quite an important process what is going on. So again, it's important for every soul that's watching this that do your inner work, keep positive, no negative emotions, thoughts, or actions. With Buddhism, kindness, always project that out, unless you're provoked or tested, let's say by a minion or a part of darkness, then things change. But what I'm speaking about here is the basics to get one up to that point of discernment, both in feeling and consciousness, what sort of reality you're interacting with, and how to apply the appropriate divine commands at dissipating it, because that's what we're here to do. So it depends upon the individual how you act and interact with any divine subjugation to any experience, whether it be negative or positive. So, metaphysics, and it's very important. So again, you have the choice. But really, is it a choice to choose a lengthy transitionary timeline that you're on to get your mission complete, or do you wish to just choose the thing that gets it done now? And the thing is a GPMS dot world. And I'm saying this because there are other narratives that are out there that don't quite do what this does. This is the quickest way to do it. And perhaps most of you, if not all, know what I'm saying on this tonight. And of course, anyone that is watching it for the first time and may watch it later, then they'll come to realize more of the truth of what I'm saying. And again, overall, we would not be here doing this if it was not needed. So having said that, something, let's say, did go a little bit wrong, so we're here to rectify and correct that, but also change the experience. So it's important to know you're always divinely protected. The more you trust and believe in that, you also create that reality where you are. So again, it's important to eradicate all fear. The more fear that you take out of your life's existence in your being, the more trust that is instilled and embodied. And you come to a point where you have the unwavered trust, where no more fear can come into that because it's strong enough uh, to take you forward, and with your faith and with your beliefs, and combined together with your purity and your virtue embodied and intact, you become a very omnipotent co-creator upon the planet that has been disciplined, honed, sharpened to the highest co-creator skill at the time that you're allowed to utilize and use. So overall, it's an inside job individually, but we're all connected to the whole, all of the other souls. So again, what I said earlier, you may have your Merkaba activated and know what I'm saying, but here you are still here. And again, the reason why you're still here is because there is an attached purpose and mission to what we're doing. At this point, I'll have a look and see if there's any questions, and I will take some questions. I believe I covered a lot of the basics, which I wish to, at sharing, teaching, and collaborating on the knowledge. So I'll have a look and see if there's what questions are here. Thank you. And hello, everyone, and thanks for joining. Terry, Nicole, and Karen, Angie. Nicole Personette asks, is it the alchemy of knowing the balance between the two polarities? What we can say, yes, but also that balance changes as we go forward, because the balance is also directly connected to truth of the certain reality, the certain level of consciousness. But truth is not constant as well. It changes as you go forward. So then there is the rebalancing that is done. And what does that, yes, is your sparks, so you could consider it alchemy being done with it, to constantly recalibrate to a higher balance. So thank you for that that beautiful question. I think it was something else I was going to add, Nicole, but I just it just dropped so divinely. I don't need to say it right now. Yeah, so any questions? Looks like I caught up on most of those, and Mylene says she struggles a bit when feeling good and then difficult people come along. Yeah, and what this is doing each time, Mylene, as you're feeling good, you got your high vibration intact, and then a difficult one will comes along. You look at it as a test. So you apply different things. If a test keeps repeating, you apply different things, different knowledge every time. But you also look at everything as a test, meaning that there is an answer, that there is a remedy, and that you have it inside. You just need to unlock it. But how you interact with the test, that is what will unlock the answer. And with it, for the most part, your answer doesn't come to confirm until after you have did the right successful thing to to unlock and to prevent the negative test from reoccurring over and over. So it's much easier to know that everything is a test and that you do have the answer. It is contained within you and within your consciousness, but you just need to pass the test. Then the realization of what was occurring, what you were doing comes. And then you are also bestowed or endowed with the knowledge to assist another that may be coming along right behind you, because this is what we do. We purvey the assistance and the messages as much as we can down to our brothers and sisters that are already on their way upward as well. So it doesn't, the truth of it is that there is a hierarchy, if you will, right at these times, but it's a hierarchy only if you look at it nearsightedly. When you step back and look at the big picture, you say, no, it's all part of the one, it's all part of the mix, that there is really not that levels in it. It's just that ones at certain times are at different levels and different things with their process. Yeah, Kristen, thank you. She says, can you talk more about the Kundalini? So, essentially, the Kundalini fire, if you will, what occurs with this is ones typically and usually, and before I go into this, what I have seen, there are exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, what I'm speaking about is what generally occurs. So what occurs is one's heart chakra has been at least activated or opened, and that is the first thing to be opened enough, or to be purified enough. Without the heart chakra, that center or the soul being open enough, the root chakra and the rest do not open and become activated energetically to the degree that they should be. And no one that does not have a Merkaba activated, they don't know what it's like, because they haven't had the experience and they can't describe it. Superficially, they may think that they know, but in reality and in truth, they don't know, because they have not had the full experience with it. But with the Kundalini, and I like to say it's your light body, it's your Merkaba that is being activated. It's your multi-dimensional energy, which allows you to transcend space and time, if you will. It is the fuel to interact with the higher dimensional spaces to be able to do this. So when you have your heart chakra activated, one of the best things to do, let's say if you haven't had your root chakra activated yet and these sort of things, and it's coming to your awareness and your guidance that it's time to activate these chakras. Well, with your heart chakra activated, consciously and energetically push this energy from the heart down into the root area intentionally to activate the root. And when you activate the root, you'll begin to feel the energy. You can sit still, but you'll feel the energy moving and doing things on its own. That's when you say, okay, the root is activated. And then once you have the root activated, of course, you are going to be beginning a process, and it can be rapid, at activating in alignment upward all of your other chakras. But remember, with your other chakras, let's take your sacral, which deals with fear. So once you have your root activated with the sexual sensations, it's part of overcoming the lust and going into knowing with the root that it's sacred. Also, any conscious thoughts and feelings with that, you need to sanctify the root, because the root will not go up higher if it stays in lust, if you will, because lust and lesser energetic things are not part of the virtuous uh, track and empowerment that you're on. So, with that, so then let's say you have your root activated here. So you got this much. Your heart and your root is working with your light body and your Merkaba, your Kundalini. Now you wish to push that energy up, if you will, from the root up as far as you can get it. And I say, no matter what, push it up. Imagine it coming out of the top of your head and going up. Right now, anyone's watching this, go up to the 48th dimension and 48 chakras, whatever you feel, 36 that you may have. And it's important to go ahead with that thought, because that is the direction and the commands for your chakras and the rest of your energetic chakras to follow. Without this, really, there is no direction. So you need to, it's good to have a direction that you can command into the process to do this. Now what occurs, you come out of your root, let's say you've practiced celibacy and what have you during your process, so you got that mastered, and then you come into your sacral chakra, and that deals with fear mostly. So at that point, when that becomes activated, your deepest fears that you had as a human being, you'll be subjugated with examples of these into your reality to be tested by them, to apply the mastery through the consciousness and through the trust, to know that they are tests, to overcome that, to not have this fear. So when you master this fear, it goes away, and when it does, it's replaced with the higher opposite, the trust, the faith. And because that is the higher, when it comes in, it floats you upward, because it'll want to go upwards to that higher dimensional space where it's all positive. So the negativity will even feel perhaps a little bit more yuckier here, because you've just become more sensitive and you have activated with trust and purity the energy that belongs up here. It doesn't belong in the present reality. And this is why I said the ground crew, divine ground crew, the main ground crew has their Merkabas activated. And it's for the reasons, because we're also here to create the Ascension lift forward for the human souls that are only going to the fifth dimensional space. But us as co-creators need to have this all activated, because we show the way. We also pave the way, and we create the way for it. So let's say you mastered your deepest fears. No, you got no fears any longer. Then you proceed to your solar plexus, and these have been labeled correctly for the most part and identified. When you look at your solar plexus, it deals with your power as well. Standing in your power, it deals with owning your divine authority as well, and to not be suppressed by another or another standing authority over you. So that becomes a main part, that once your solar plexus is becoming activated, your tests will be in alignment with that, and you'll be subjugated with them. For example, if you're a feminine, that in your human life, that one of the things was that a masculine was always dominant over you. Well, then what would occur, because you need to be your standalone um, divine authority, feminine, and you just, I don't want to say this, but you need to, no, I won't say it that way, but you need to step into your divine, unwavered authority, and part of that is not to be wavered by a masculine or anyone trying to impose their authority upon you, because that doesn't resonate. It's not with what we are. So you will be tested to be able to stand in your divine authority, your connection to co-creator, and to all of us, and to do the mission you come here to do. You're really no good to the mission if you can be controlled by an outside force, and especially any authority that is not acting in a moral way. So you need to have the experiences, because it's through the experiences that you develop more of your gift and more of your authority. And as you pass the test, then you also can look at that you bring down even more of your divine power into your operating electromagnetic field that you have here. And many of you have been prepared for this time to do this, and many will be a part of the GPMS, what we got up here, because you are the leaders for the people to change the reality. And as we know what it is, what you are here to change is that old illusionary authority, which just kept creating misery and fear by their systems and the way they acted. So we're here to change that. So to change that, you need to be in your divine authority. Now, also with this, many, well, I shouldn't say many. I would hope it would be many, but I can't put a definite number on it. But at least there are ones of you that know you cannot be killed. Part of your test was a very profound test with encounters with the darkness and the actual evil. But you come to find out that you could not be killed because you can't. But it's a test for you also to stand more in belief and trust in yourself, because that also builds your power, and it's important. So with that, and so it goes on, you go up to your heart chakra. When you get up to your heart chakra, then you begin to know that your unconditional love then begins to transition into the higher wise love, and into the higher heart, where you begin to assist in transmuting energy outside of yourself. It could be a geographical negative energetic imprint, or also from others, without getting too deep into that. Okay, I see Bob. You're welcome, Eileen. Just before that. Um, Kristen, you had the spontaneous Kundalini awakening. Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. That was my experience as well. With that, no, you never lose it. It just might seem like that, while a lot of us here are waiting for experiences with others to play out. So there are times, that it may feel like you're disconnected, but you're not. And you don't lose it once it's activated. You don't lose it. That's not how it works. So it's great. Uh, Mylene says, thank you for explaining, Rick. What was it? It's not easy when dealing with narcissists, she says recently. Mylene, I wrote important posts about this for the more powerful co-creators. What I suggest is do not use the word narcissist because there is a negative, evil connotation with it, and it's like a trap word. And if you use that because of the energy that surrounds that word, that so many other co-creators unbeknownst have energized it, you also uh, you can also become somewhat like that, and you'll attract more of that. So what I suggest for anyone is the word narcissist, really, it should not even be in the vocabulary of any awakening in the future. There will not be, of course, because there will be no representations of that. But what we're also doing, when you look at part of one of the psychological uh, traits or characteristics of a narcissist, they'll say they love their self. So they're actually making fun of loving yourself. But in actuality, part of your inner work, part of the basics, is to love yourself. You need to do this. If you don't love yourself, things don't work. And, but love yourself not in a selfish or a negative way, but it's important to love yourself. But with psychology, orthodox psychology and psychiatry and all of that, it's what they put in there. It's only as good as the level of consciousness they have. For example, they're applying, that someone autistic, if you will, is sick or something, and that is not the case. It's just their lack of knowledge of what is actually occurring. For if they had the knowledge, they would know these souls are perfectly fine, if you will, and that their reality is a little bit different than what theirs is, in the least, without getting into that, but to make a point. Bob, what are you saying here? Nowadays, about 5D equals 5G. Well, uh, no, Bob. What you're saying, I would suggest not to not to go to 1D. Whatever you're asking there, it keeps jumping, so that means divinely uh, not to look at that. So we'll give it one more try to see, but it's so lengthy too that I can't see more. Oh no, hold on, maybe I can. Yeah, you're welcome, Bob. No, the thing is, go forward. Know that there's also tricks out there, but they are tests. When someone tells you that uh, what you're saying, 5D equals 5G, no, unless it's all good. Again, what I said is keep positive thoughts, and if you say to 1D, really, look at what 2D is, a 2D plane. Look at what third dimension is. You can see it evolving higher forward, so it becomes a ridiculous connotation for someone to say you're going to 1D, because that is the implosion. The spiral is outwards and keep going up as the numbers indicate. So a reverse psychology of such, what you're saying there, I'd look at that as a trick, and I would not use that application. And these sort of misconceptions are intentionally put in there, misinformation, to confuse and distort ones and to take them away from their power. And this paradigm that you're in, I say it's like you're in hell here, and because you're not in heaven on earth, if you will, yet, but you're in hell, and when you're in hell, you have what are called the masters of deception, which uses trickery and narratives to trick ones into giving their power away. So it's great test when you know this, but it's also why you are told to trust your feelings in the beginning. And if something doesn't seem right to you, that means it isn't. So follow your guidance with that, what you feel, and then you sharpen your discernment process at recognizing what is truth and what is not. Then you weed through a lot of the garbage. You don't need to go through looking at everything and doing an evaluation, is it truth or not. You will know because you will feel instantly. So if you're online looking for something, you will feel it. You will feel the energy, or you'll feel attracted to it, and that will tell you for the most part that it should be truth, because it's drawing your attention to it. And of course, this works only to the level of the purity that one has and the power that they have at that time. So it is not the same for all. However, the process of your empowerment is pretty well the same for all. So thank you for that. Okay, any other questions? We've been about an hour. That's been pretty good. And we're in Hungary here now, and it's getting late in the evening. We're at a campground, not many here, but still I tend to speak loud. So any closing questions on this at this time? And of course there will be perhaps more refreshing about these things, creation, metaphysics, the Ascension, and all of that, and lives that I did years ago in teaching the fundamentals and the basics. They should be found out there as well. Rick Vornbrook, he usually takes these lives and puts them, downloads them to YouTube, a channel he has, and you may be able to find some of the older ones there that give you it gives you the same information more or less of what I'm speaking about tonight, but going to a wide range of the pertinent topics that go hand in hand with your ascension. Okay, from Laura says, how much should we pay attention to the old world systems imploding? What I suggest with that, again, Laura, is for the ones that are conscientious, that you have a choice on where to put your focus and your attention towards. So you have a choice and you know what you want. You want the new world, rather than focusing and watching the destruction of the old world, because the more you believe on that destruction, also you're energizing it more, and you're also keeping it alive more. So for anyone watching this, it's best to, once you're at a level that you know and trust that we are ascending, then you keep your focus on the reality where the heaven on earth scenario, because then you begin with all of your other comrades to create that quicker. And by creating the good reality quicker, the old one, you don't need to look at it, it implodes much more quicker. And this is the message, we've been giving out to many of the teachers and the co-creators, and this goes back to the first of where I said, common sense, joy raises the vibration. And what we have asked is for all healers that know about co-creation to give GPMS to the ones they are assisting. It's stress that causes disharmony, disease, and sickness. So if you will, have no stress, that they have an actual hope to look forward to. Hey, fam. And then it raises the vibration. So it's important. So, having said this, it's getting late, and I believe I did hear some noise over in one of the cabins. So, with that, what I'll do is peace, kisses, love. Oh, and up there, up there we go. Light and GPMS and much gratitude, and have a beautiful journey, and remember, everything's just a test, and you have everything within you to pass all of those tests. So have a great one. Winks. You gotta do that. Woo.